vulnerable right now. तो मैं जो 2 माइल वॉक करती हूँ सीधे उसको टाइम्स 3 कर देती हूँ 6 miles. This is my way of dealing with it. I get so like physically active and I do so much that and it has helped me. But we are all unique and also careful with your choice of words. आप क्या बोल रहे हो? Be very careful about it because this is right now who is opening up to you. There are not a lot of people who talk about it. I mean, I'm pretty sure we all should get therapy. एक बार तो जरूर मिलना चाहिए. Maybe वो and you should this is for you to figure out कि help मिलना चाहिए. I think people around you should get more therapy than the actual person who's depressed.
Yes. In fact, there's a question around this only that whether psychiatrist has a role to play while dealing with depression, or is it more of a self-correction? That's a question. I mean, and we have doctor and the proud depressives here. Love your perspectives.
Yeah. Shall I?
Yes, please.
You discussed a very beautiful thing that everybody around have therapy. Has anybody recently watched this new movie Shakuntala Devi, Hindi movie? Has anybody watched?
I watched it.
So it's a very wonderful movie, like how we pass on our generational traumas. Like, for example, here in this movie, what Vidya Balan has portrayed the role of a very successful person, and her mother was a housewife. She was respected and very silent figure in the home, and she always hated her mother for that. And she had a trauma in her heart, and she thought that whatever will become, but I will become like her. She always carried that trauma in her. What happened is she started operating out of her brokenness with this brokenness for her daughter also. So, but what happened? Daughter is like her mother, Vidya Balan, that she is very different mother, overly independent mother, an overly achiever. She hated that fact in her. Very over-involved mother. One would go beyond, take so much efforts. And she also somebody was liking her mother. So here towards the role of therapy comes. When one generation decides to heal their wounds, their cognitive distortions, themselves, it helps a future progeny, or we can say over children as well. So that's the point I really wanted to highlight, as Priya told. Of course, therapy is not only for people who are suffering from depression. It's for all the normal people also, who on the daily basis are operating out of their brokenness and the bias, prejudice, acquired in their life through their various traumas. They need to heal that thing somewhere at some point of their life. Now coming to the fact that depression, next question, depression is definitely a medical illness. See, it is not something, a corrective flaw. It is something you can't, snap out of it, right? Just like as Ma'am Archana told, as diabetes and hypertension are definite medical diagnosis. Similarly, depression is also a medical diagnosis. It is the biological reasons behind it is dysregulation of neurotransmitters in our brain. Of course, the alternative therapies, they help, but sometimes they not completely help because it is a medical disorder which needs medical treatment. So when we say that you can sometimes snap out of depression by your own, it may not be completely possible. Maybe the symptoms of depression are so overwhelming that your all social occupational functioning is being affected. In such cases, of course, it needs medical intervention, and you should not even belittle yours. If you are going through such situation, of any of your relative or family members are going through this situation, but by just belittling it, by saying that you can just come out of the depression by self-corrective methods, it's not like that. It is a definite medical diagnosis, and most of the time it needs treatment. That's what I want to emphasize. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, while you're on it, there are two more questions that we'd like you to take. The first one from Bikramjit. It says, thanks, ma'am, for your excellent talk. Since causes for depression can often be traced to problems of psychiatry, learn a little bit of sociology in college.
See, when we learn psychiatry, he's talking about that student of psychiatry should learn sociology or not. So we do learn about social factors which contribute to depression. Like if you look at the current situation, what are the social factors which are leading to a lot of adjustment disorders and depression in a COVID-like situation? Social situations like unemployment, that can be the cause of this depression. The social situations like gender discrimination, right? A lot of crime against women, and in current scenario like not easy access to health facilities, or it may be the ongoing politics in the country. And for example, there are a lot of farmers, that all social factors are in fact included in when we study psychiatry. In fact, I feel that people who study sociology, they should also include in their syllabus. It also should be included the psychological impacts of various social situations, right? Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. And the other question is from a teacher, Archana Sharma. Her question is also to you, Dr. Sasha. What are some
Yeah.
of the early symptoms being a teacher? We can keep an eye on our pupil. How can we be a help for them?
So if we talk about the adolescent age group person, so main presentation they come up with most of the time when the parents or teachers start noticing a decline in their academic performance. Adolescence is an age which is very crucial age with regard to career and other important aspects of life. And when they start having decreased academic performance, so that should raise alarm, right? And also changes in some behavioral patterns, like getting more oppositional, always behaving in a exactly opposite manner, or always resisting whatever other people are advising them, or that challenging the senior authority, even the teachers or parents at home. And sometimes, most of the onset of substance use takes place during adolescent age only. If suddenly you're noticing a lot of pattern changes in adolescence also, like you're seeing vague behavioral changes like being more aggressive, maybe skipping schools, going somewhere else, and you're feeling that valuables from the home are missing, or they are demanding for extra pocket money, and their academics are dropping gradually or maybe suddenly. So that could be a sign which teachers and parents should be vigilant of. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. That's helpful. Priya, this is a question from you, from Abdul Ghani. People are depressed and are aware that they need to take help. Now, this is a big ask for many. How do they take the first baby steps towards seeking help?
See, of course, awareness and acknowledgement are, I would say, the first step. So awareness, of course, the awareness these days is increasing, but the main resistance which people show is about acknowledgement, acknowledging that they are going through some mental health issues, and acknowledging that their friends or family are going through some mental health issues. So I think acknowledging the fact that something somewhere is wrong with your mental health and you need a professional help, ये बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है. So there is in our country there is lot of bias, और कहते हैं कि इतनी संवेदनशीलता नहीं है mental health issues को लेके. वो संवेदनशीलता और वो acceptance आना बहुत जरूरी है. And secondly, after this acknowledging this fact, and if you feel that your friends or family person is having some mental health issues, even if you are having some mental health issues, you should not shy away from taking help from some mental health professional. Of course, at the same time, not judging the person. As Devika rightly explained that we should not judge the person who is going through all these issues. A very empathetic approach to that person should be there. We should be there for, we should be there for them to provide emotional support, but that unconditional and non-judgmental. support, as Devika rightly mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah. Priya, do you want to add on to that?
I think those of us who are depressed are not disconnected from the reality of being depressed. That's why we are called neurotics. We are not psychotics. We are totally in touch with our reality. Or acknowledging is first, knowing that something is not right with you. Who to reach? I think you have to reach to somebody you trust first. Professional help, I don't know. I never got it, so I really don't know how to go about it. You should have, like the community we are building now. This is a great place to ask for help. And I would like to add one more thing कि ये जो डर होता है ना, ये डर कभी नहीं होना. You face your fears, and this is how you move forward in life. सबसे बड़ा fear क्या होता है? When I was going through this, और अब थक गई मैं. I told myself कि क्या होगा? Worst come worst, अगर आप if you're not scared of death, you're not scared of anything. कि कल को मेरी अगर जिंदगी नहीं रही, चली गई, तो क्या होगा? ठीक है यार, होगा. आज तो अच्छे से जीना है. You have to take baby steps. One day at a time. ये हम लोग इतना बड़ा प्लान बना लेते हैं. अच्छा, तो हम तब तक नौकरी करेंगे, फिर हमारा बैंक बैलेंस पता नहीं कितना बिलियन होगा, फिर हम रिटायर. अरे कौन देखा है उतना लंबा? Nobody has seen. The reality is कि ठीक है, we like to live in a that comfort zone, to think of things that give you comfort and security, and all of that is great, but try to be a little insecure too in life. ये हर समय बस secure हर चीज बनाने की नहीं. Group of friends, meet those crazy people, तो वो भी जरूरी है. हम हर समय एक security के पीछे भागने की जो कोशिश करते हैं, वो I think थोड़ा we have to change that. अपने लाइफ के पर्सपेक्टिव को हर 2, 4, 5 साल में थिंक बैक एंड सी कि भाई क्या मैंने गलत किया, क्या और क्या हाउ आई हैव टू फिक्स. बी ऑनेस्ट टू योरसेल्फ. ये सब बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें हैं. यू हैव टू बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट. यू शुड नो हु यू आर, और अपने कॉन्शियस, अपने थॉट्स के साथ बी डिसऑनेस्ट. बी ऑनेस्ट.
And there's a phrase that we say हवा नहीं बनाना है. It's not like a.
अगर कोई हवा बनाने की कोशिश कर रहा है तो ये हंसने की बात है, बिकॉज ये आपकी कमी नहीं है. यू हैव टू ऑलवेज एक्नॉलेज कि ये जो अगर कोई आपको ये दिखाना चाह रहा है कि यू आर वीक, यू आर दिस, एंड गिविंग यू टन्स ऑफ एडवाइस, थोड़ा दिन कोई भी अगर हो, वो just disconnect. It's good for your mental health. A long list hota tha. Because that's how I grew up. If you don't music is beautiful, सबका ख्याल रखना, सब का. अगर 1 out of 4 is depressed और आपका फोन लिस्ट 50 लोगों का है, क्या बात करें, it's gonna affect you. That's why I say just rethink कि आपको क्या, what's not really working for you. You don't have to be this ideal. ये सब ideal सब बकवास होता है. सबसे पहले you have to be true to yourself. Look out for yourself. क्योंकि अगर आप हैं तो सब हैं, अगर आप ही नहीं हैं तो फिर क्या? I mean that's been my approach. I don't know, because I was this.
Yeah, no, those are great words. And with that, I believe that there are no other questions that I see. There are lots of comments. There are lots of congratulatory messages for all the speakers, Dr. and Devika and Priya and Archana. So there are lots of, sorry? Oh, there is a question. I just got a prompt that there is a question. Do you want to unmute yourself and ask, please, if there are more questions? I don't see a question. No, I don't see a question.
Tulika, there is a question. From Sanjeevan Lal, it says, what do you do when a person refuses to acknowledge her illness and refuses to see a doctor?
That's a very pertinent question. I just saw it. I mean, I was scrolling up and down, and that's a question from Sanjeevan Lal. And it's a very pertinent question that, doctor, how do you want to address that?
Devika, do you have anything to say?
Dr. Sasha Raikhy se pehle pooch le. Then I can also come in here.
To acknowledge her illness and refuses to see a doctor.
So, this is perhaps the most difficult problem when person doesn't acknowledge his problem. So, as a family or a friend, I would just say, just be present and, try and be gently intrusive. You need not to be, telling the person sometimes straightforward that you need help. You need to be gently intrusive. You need to gain the confidence of that person, right? Or, of course, you can take the help of some other family member or a friend on which the person confides. As I think Priya told in our conversation that you should, tell all these things to the person you trust in your family. So you should find out a person in a family whom that person trusts. I'm just talking about neurotic illnesses. I'm not talking about psychotic illnesses. In psychotic illnesses, the insight is totally absent. In such cases, you have to maybe involuntarily take patient to the doctor, or maybe have to get patient admitted to some institute. But in case of neurotic person, I would just advise to be gently intrusive, what I would say, or take the help of some person in a family or in his friend circle whom the person confides on, right? And of course, be present with that patient. That's very much important. See, often what happens is, and most of the time, it's very also important that the loved one should not, start giving their own, what we say as the judgmental views of minimizing what they are going through. Like most of the time when in adolescence it happens due to some relationship issues or breakup issues or some other, or in grown-ups because of professional issues. They have certain onset of this, mental health issues. At that stage, when you're advising to somebody, it should not be what we call as, should be shaded by your own life experiences. Oh no, we have also experienced the same thing in our life, and you will also snap out of it so easily. First of all, so that non-judgmental presence, being gently intrusive, gaining the trust of some family or friend, involving some family or friend. And fourth thing is not minimizing the symptoms of what the patient is going through, right? So in this way, we can gradually, gain the confidence of a person and can help person in if the condition is severe enough, and can help the person see some mental health professional.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yeah.
Yes, please. Please ask your question. Unmute and ask your question if you want anymore.
Thank you so much. I'm Abdul Ghani. I'm from India. देखिए जब दांत दर्द होता है तो हम डेंटिस्ट के पास जाते हैं, कोई पूछता नहीं है. बुखार आती है तो हम डॉक्टर के पास जाते हैं. आंख का प्रॉब्लम है तो हम आई स्पेशलिस्ट के पास जाते हैं. मगर जब मानसिक तनाव होता है तो हम अगर मेंटल हेल्थ ठीक करने को जाते हैं तो देयर इज लॉट ऑफ स्टिग्मा अटैच. अरे मेंटल हो गया क्या, क्या हो गया, क्या प्रॉब्लम है, क्या पागल हो गया क्या, ये साइकियाट्रिस्ट के पास तो पागल लोग जाते हैं. ये स्टिग्मा ये कैसा बाहर, and this website which has been launched, Facebook, this is a very good way of awareness, but ये on the masses में कैसा हम ये निकाल सकते. ये स्टिग्मा attached to going to a psychiatrist के पास, तू तो पागल हो गया, तभी तू जा रहा है साइकियाट्रिस्ट के पास. दांत के डेंटिस्ट के पास जाने में मुझे किसी ने पूछा नहीं, आंख के स्पेशलिस्ट के पास जाने में मुझे किसी ने नहीं पूछा, साइकियाट्रिस्ट के पास जाने में there is lot of stigma attached. So how do you come out of it? Awareness. Thank you.
I have a couple points to make on that. I think so. Using a slightly different example, here in United States, if you've read any news cycles lately, we've been having a lot of racial tension as a result of COVID and lots of different reasons. There's racial tension.
So, as U.S. citizens and as a member of the millennial generation, I have been wondering. Well, yes, we have these big campaigns, big Facebook pages saying "End racism," Black Lives Matter. But how do I change it on my? I'm just a normal, non-famous, average person. How do I change that? And I think this can be applied to stigma around depression as well. It starts with the uncomfortable conversations. If I see someone in my family or in my circle saying something racist, something problematic about race, ignoring it will just justify their words. It will fuel their flame of hate and racism. In the same way, ignoring when someone is saying something ignorant about mental health, those people will come out of that conversation thinking they said the right thing when they did not. So having those uncomfortable conversations at the family level, friendship level, it will be unpleasant. You will offend people. People will get mad. But you are playing your part in the movement by saying, no, that's actually the wrong way to look at it. And here's my rationale. And, you can be aggressive about it. You can be passionate about it. Let that come out in your words, because that is what will, I feel, change an opinion. Or maybe someone will hear that and, over the next hours, days, weeks, they will think about it. It will be something they remember because they were called out and they were forced to reflect. So that's one way.
I think
And
that
as
is
a
a great way because it will start at home. It will start with me and my family. That is a very, very good approach, Devika, what you mentioned.
Yes.
Don't worry about what the world is going to do about it. I will worry what I am going to do about it. Thank you for that, Devika.
और दूसरी बात जो अर्चना ने कहा था कि हाँ तो है मेंटर, हाँ हम है पढ़ने में कमजोर, हाँ हमको ये करना ही है. जैसे मैं नर्सिंग कर रही हूँ, शुरू में मुझे लोगों ने बोला कि अच्छा मेरे घर में जाऊँ, मुझे पता था क्या आएगा. आई नो माई क्लैन वेरी वेल. ओ तो तुम पढ़ाओगी. तो हम कुछ नहीं बोले उस वक्त, जब भी बोलना चाहिए था. अगर नर्स होकर पढ़ाना है, पढ़ना है, इसके आगे कुछ नहीं करना है. तो यू नो द स्टीरियोटाइप्स और आप एक्नॉलेज करो कि हाँ है मेंटर. अगर है तो है, इसमें शर्म क्या है? इफ यू आर नॉट ashamed of yourself, तो बस ठीक है.
And that is the whole movement about कि इसको conversation को mainstream बनाना है. It should not stay at the fringes, and it has to start with a small group of people, and we are hoping that this group is that group. And it starts, every change starts from small. And I completely second what Devika said, that, and Devika, you have a beautiful way of presenting your thoughts, that you have to be the one that says it doesn't matter, and I will not, अगर आपके बारे में या आप दूसरे के भी बारे में अगर किसी को सुने तो आप मना करें. चुप रहना मतलब उसको बढ़ावा देना है, तो चुप ना रहे. तो ऐसे ही
चुप नहीं रहे. ये मेरा हुआ करता था. दिस वाज माय अप्रोच कि अरे इग्नोर करो. यू हैव टू. अब आप तो बहुत सबसे लड़ भी नहीं सकते हैं, ये भी एक सच्चाई है. बट जहां जरूरी है वहां पे यू हैव टू इंटरवीन. और ये आपकी जिंदगी है, ये आपका नजरिया है, हम सबका एक नजरिया होता है. तो अगर आप, इफ यू आर नॉट रेस्पेक्टफुल अबाउट माय पर्सपेक्टिव, देन यू डोंट एग्जिस्ट फॉर मी. एज सिंपल एज दैट. 4 लोगों की ही आपका सर्कल इतना छोटा हो, डोंट बी स्कैर्ड कि अरे यार मेरे पास तो फैन फॉलोइंग नहीं है. ठीक है, फैन फॉलोइंग हो जाएगी, but don't be scared to have those 4 people. You'll be very happy if you have a very small group that you can rely on, trust, reach out for support. That's all you need. You just need that one person. अगर आप डिप्रेस्ड हैं तो लिटरली आपको बस उस एक बंदे की जरूरत है जो आपको मदद कर सकता है.
अच्छा, I just have to make one point. I raised a question, Tulika. I raised a question about what do you do when the person doesn't acknowledge or doesn't want to see the doctor. Archana earlier,
Yes.
and he came out with a very witty answer. she suggested that I get a doctor as a friend home, and introduce the doctor to the person, he or she, whatever, in this case, my mother. So, and my mother, she loves talking and meeting new people, making friends. So, and because she loves talking and making friends, that probably she was right in a way that I get a doctor and they get friendly and they get talking and then I leave. And then let the doctor take over from there without any stigma or anything as such, getting in.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful, and we are hoping that have that.
Sanju bhai, did you do it with auntie?
अभी नाम नहीं लिया हूँ मैं. I am in Bombay and she lives in Jamshedpur. So I have to go to hometown or somewhere. I have to meet her. But I stay away from her. I have not yet tried this, but I am definitely going to try this.
Yes, and we hope for that day that access to therapists becomes as easy in India as we see it in the US or other places in the West.
तुलिका, मैं एक चीज बोलूं?
हाँ बोलो.
हम लोग सब कोई ना मेंटल हेल्थ पर्सन के पर्सपेक्टिव से बात कर रहे हैं, बट एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पर्सपेक्टिव है जो अभी संजू भैया ने रेज किया कि अ मेंटल हेल्थ पर्सन कैन बी क्वाइट अ टॉर्चर फॉर द फैमिली. ये भी है कि केयर गिवर का पर्सपेक्टिव सैडली अभी जो हमारा लेजिस्लेशन है या मतलब हमारा जो ये है एक्सेस है, अगर कोई साइकोटिक भी है तो उसको बिना कंसेंट के आप फोर्स नहीं कर सकते. बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग लेजिस्लेशंस है. तो अभी हम बस बेस्ट ऑफ लक टू केयर गिवर्स कहने के अलावा कुछ नहीं कह सकते हैं, क्योंकि आई नो कि मेरा हस्बैंड अभी मुझे बार बार ये कर रहा है कि सब नीम हकीम खतरे जान सब बैठ गए हो और लेक्चर बोले जा रहे हो, एक्सेप्ट डॉक्टर साशा रेखी, तुम लोग सब मतलब है भी हो. सो केयर गिवर के लिए भी इतना आसान नहीं होता है.
Sure. And that's why we have to
सब ज्ञान बांट रहे हैं हम लोग.
I'm sorry to cut you, but that's why we have to keep the conversation going. And Archana brought up a very important point about caregivers. In fact, I was asking Priya कि आपके हस्बैंड आएंगे क्या?
मेरे हस्बैंड बेचारे आए हैं.
केयर गिवर का पर्सपेक्टिव हम लोग जानना चाह रहे थे, जो कि ये संजीवन जी भी बोल रहे थे. अर्चना भी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट रेज की कि केयर गिवर्स के लिए भी उनका पर्सपेक्टिव अभी हम लोग देख भी नहीं रहे. और बेस्ट ऑफ लक टू केयर गिवर्स के अलावा अभी कुछ है नहीं. तो आपका क्या पर्सपेक्टिव है?
When I was depressed, like how did you feel? Did you feel you needed support or I needed support?
No, obviously you needed support. I had no idea what she was going through, but I just felt that, the things, her life circumstances were, very unfavorable. We didn't have a green card back then, and she was just running the house, looking after us, and all by herself. I felt she was isolated. Back then there was no WhatsApp, no FaceTime, nothing. So I just felt like she needed support, and I didn't know that she was going through, mental stress or anything. I was just supportive. I had no idea what it was, but I felt like it was a bad circumstance for her.
Yeah, and he was a good to rely on or to support. I mean, he was the one who said, "Chalo, chalo, let's go. Bahar chalte hain, ghoom kar aate hain."
My father is an expert caregiver even now because I'm proud to say that I'm open to say that being here in quarantine, I immediately restarted my therapy because being in quarantine has brought out a lot of triggers and a lot of caged feelings of depression and hopelessness and anxiety. And people asking how can they give support, how can they be caregivers. I think my dad in recent days has shown a real example of that. The one question he asked me a couple weeks back, I haven't even told him this yet, that brought me to tears when I hung up the phone. He said, I have known you've dealt with depression and anxiety for a long time. I don't think I ever understood how that feels. Can you tell me how that feels? Can you explain to me how that feels? Can you try to put me in your shoes so that any semblance of understanding? And just asking those kinds of questions can be very humbling to somebody. He didn't tell me everything was going to be okay. He didn't try to paint some blue sky rosy picture. All he did was pay attention to me and flip the script and ask me how I felt. If I am an expert in my own mental health struggle, can I help him understand? So he's a caregiver who has experienced it multiple times across different generations. And these are some great examples of how to be an ally.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm just being watchful of the time, and it's 2 hours. I'm full, and I'm sure everybody's heart is full at this point in time. It's a movement, and we have to keep at it. There's no other way to put it. Thank you for your time. I understand Sunday morning, evening, 2 hours is definitely an investment, and that shows your commitment. And we have to, kind of hold each other's hands and educate, and just be empathetic. And for this session, I am really, really grateful to Dr. Sasha for taking your time out and speaking to us. Your psychiatric understanding has definitely educated Priya and Devika. Thank you for your candid stories. Archana, we need you to show the way, and thank you for leading the movement. Thank you everyone for your time and attention. We will continue the conversation. So see you next week, next month. And till then, just keep happy and stay supportive. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you, Tulika, for being a wonderful anchor. Thank you, Tulika.
Thank you. Not to mention the silent, the people who made this work, the tech support, Rohit and Sejal.
Yes.
For the seamless experience that we had today. It takes a whole tribe to make this work, right? So
yes,
thank you. Hand for the entire tribe. 3 cheers. Hip hip. Hooray!
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 Hooray!